We had come down off of a hill, which was kind of our LZ at the time, where enemy fire couldn't get us. Every time we came down to a village called San La Chu, then we got a lot of heavy fire. We had to back off. So just like the night recon mission, it was overcast most of the time. It was that time of year. At midnight on the 21st of February, '68, we moved down off of the hill, way out from San La Chu and back up into the village. These villages are like an island between rice paddies, if you can picture this. So this is a pretty good sized island, the village of San La Chu. We came up in behind the enemy who were on line looking toward us. And we started working up on them, you know, taking them by surprise. They were looking that way and we come up behind them. Well, there was a partially destroyed building. I mean, the roof was gone, but all the walls were there. And one of our troopers went around the building and automatic, like a 3-round burst, fired at him. 1 round hit him in the leg. And he crawled back away from the edge of the building. And, you know, we found out that one more enemy soldier, we had already got rid of several. One more enemy soldier was on the other side of the building, and then that was the end of the wood line. So it was all clearing from there. So it was almost impossible to get to him. So I fired 2 LAWs, light anti-tank weapons. I fired 2 of them through the door of the building into the inside wall, hoping that the explosion, the debris, would kill him. Well, someone went around the right side of the building and no, like that. So no, you know, can't get him. So I was a squad leader. I took 2 of my guys. Actually, I found out later that 2 more followed up. But I took 2 of my guys, but Paul Hunter and I went into the building, and Hunter was right under the window that looked out into the field. But he was right under the window, and I was next to one of the holes that I blew into. So we were both taking fragmentation grenades and tossing them over the window. And I was throwing them through the hole. And as soon as, like Hunter would take a steel pot off and raise it up, the guy was shooting. We can't get him. Anyway, I had a white phosphorus grenade hanging on my vest. And we didn't have any more fragmentation unless we wanted to take a chance of getting shot to go back where we were, about not far, 50 feet or so back. So Hunter said, give it to me, I'll take care of him. So a white phosphorus is a 7-second cook-off, not a 4-second like a. So he pulled the pin, let the spoon fly, and stood up. He was just gonna drive it right down the guy's throat. Like that, automatic fire. And Hunter just shuddered and fell back. I didn't know where he was hit, how bad it was. But he was laying there on my left side with that grenade, you know, just right off of his hand. So, and we were squatted down, you know, right while he was laying down at that point. But I just kind of swung around and grabbed the grenade and just kept twirling. I was gonna try to get it around at that hole. And I let go of it. I don't know where it was, you know, as far from me. But but I wasn't gonna make it all the way around. You know, I was trying to twirl around. let go of it. It was airborne. It exploded, and then my left hand and arm, my left leg, from my flak vest down to my boot. There's actually a line where my boot, nothing. So my left arm and leg, my buttocks, and it was all third-degree burn. So I couldn't do anything for Hunter because I wrote the story. I let out a sound that was like a guttural sound, a yell, but it was like, a sound I couldn't make today. And then I took off back out the door. I was actually on fire because my clothing was burning. And damn if I didn't get hung up in concertina wire. A couple of the guys came out and got me. And then they went in the building and got Hunter. He was just, his head was grazed. He split his head open like this. But if it was an inch this way, it would have gone right through his skull. But it just knocked the steel pot off and grazed him. I looked at my hand. I had stuff hanging off, flesh hanging off. My friend Doc Wright, my medic, he gave me a nice shot of morphine. And at that point, I felt no pain. We had already called a medevac ship in for Oberg, the guy who went around the building, was shot in the leg. And this was a long time getting there because, they needed cover, they needed to get in. Gunship came in, but they couldn't fire any heavy artillery because we were all too close. Anyway, I could hear the medevac ship coming in while Doc Wright was treating me, and there wasn't a whole lot he could do. Took off all my clothes. The only thing I had on was my dog tags, because everything else was, my flak vest, which was nylon, had melted onto my hip, so that didn't help my burns at all. He treated me and stood me up and brought my arms over his shoulder and ran back, quite a ways, I don't know how far, but quite a distance back to the medevac ship. Anyway, he put me and Hunter in Oberg, and somebody else, and his name was also Hunter. His last name was Hunter, on the ship. And I thought the other Hunter, I didn't know him, but I thought he was dead because he was laying there motionless. I didn't see his chest move or anything. The ship lifted off, and then as it tried to fly, it would go sideways. Well, the tail rotor, I didn't know this till years later, the tail rotor was hit, either the shaft or something, so it couldn't stabilize. So, he was trying to fly straight, but a lot of times he was going sideways. It wasn't far to July, and when the helicopter got to the MASH unit and got over the landing pad, it was doing this stuff, winging around. Because once he stopped, once he went going forward, it was, so anyway, he finally just dropped it, and the guy who wasn't moving, which his name was Michael Hunter, just fell out of the helicopter. I found out he survived that. I received the Distinguished Service Cross for saving Hunter and 2 other guys that were right there in the building. I wasn't even aware they were there. I asked a couple guys to come up with me, but then I thought they left. My radio telephone operator, he followed me up. None of them, nobody was burned. I was the only one that was burned.